I changed my shirt in the car. That was the kind of day it had been. 10 hours at the office, still hadn't eaten, but I made the drive from Austin to Round Rock because my mother said dinner at 6:00 was non-negotiable. I swapped my worn work flats for a cleaner pair of loafers and tried not to look at the circles under my eyes in the mirror. By the time I walked through the front door, everyone was already seated. Ainsley, of course, sat next to Mom, wearing a fitted red blazer that probably cost more than my entire week's paycheck. Dad was at the head of the table, carving into a salmon like it was some ceremonial roast. My chair was at the far end, same as always. Not even a glance when I stepped in. No, how was your day? No, glad you made it. The reason we were all there. To celebrate Ainsley's newest award. Something about brand image in real estate. Whatever that means. There were wine glasses and those little candles in holders that Mom only brought out when she wanted to look like a loving hostess. She did that well. Play the part. I sat down quietly, smoothed my blouse, and waited for someone, anyone, to ask how my project launch went this week. Nothing. They were too busy listening to Ainsley talk about the incredible synergy between her marketing team and the client. Then Dad looked at me, not even pausing between bites. You're the only one who never really made anything of herself. There it was. I looked up. Silence. Everyone else kept their eyes on their plates, like if they didn't move, maybe I'd vanish. I felt the heat crawl up my chest, but I stayed quiet. Dad, Ainsley started, but Mom raised her hand. No, he's not wrong, she said gently, like that would soften the blow. Sweetheart, your sister just knows how to focus on what matters. I gripped my water glass so tightly I thought it might shatter. I didn't speak. Not yet. They always said things like this. Slipped it in between courses. I'd spent years thinking maybe they didn't realize how much it cut, how often they erased me, even while I sat right in front of them. But the truth was, they knew. They counted on my silence. They didn't know about the binder in my purse, or the copies of mortgage payments I had printed and folded, been carrying for 3 days, waiting. I took a slow breath. My hands trembled, but I opened my bag anyway, pulled out the first page. I've paid $161,000 over the past 2 years, I said, placing the page in front of my father, to keep this house, this very one you're eating dinner in, out of foreclosure. Forks paused mid-air. Ainsley looked confused. Mom blinked. Dad squinted at the paper like it was written in another language. I continued. Steady now. Monthly transfers, tuition for Sierra, property taxes, even the new HVAC system. All from me. Quietly. Because you said it was temporary. Because you said it was just until things stabilized. Dad scoffed. You're being dramatic. Mom waved a dismissive hand. That's what family does. We help each other. You offered, Ainsley said softly, looking at me for the first time that night. Mom said you were happy to help. I didn't respond right away. I let the weight of what I said hang in the air. They still didn't get it. Dad leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. Well, maybe you should have said something if it bothered you. That's the problem, I said, standing. I kept thinking eventually, you'd recognize it. Not praise, not a parade. Just, maybe not being treated like I failed when I've been holding the foundation together. I picked up my purse. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I looked at my mother, who couldn't meet my eyes, and then at my father, who was already picking up his fork again. From now on, I said, voice low, I'm done paying for the privilege of being disrespected. I walked out before they could answer. As I stepped into the evening air, something unfamiliar settled in my chest. Not rage, not regret. Lightness. Saturday morning started early. I hadn't slept much after what happened at the dinner table. My body was still tired, but my brain wouldn't stop replaying it, those words from my father echoing like static inside my chest. You're the only one who never really made anything of herself. The kind of line that sounds rehearsed, the kind of thing you don't say unless you've been meaning to. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, still in my pajamas, when my phone buzzed with a bank alert. Auto transfer. $350. Mortgage. Same day, every month. I didn't need to open the app to know where it went. Still, I did. Out of habit, or maybe defiance. The numbers stared back at me. Every time I thought I was done, there it was again. Another payment to keep the illusion of someone else's stability. Even now, I'm still paying for people who pretend I don't count. A few minutes later, a ping from my calendar popped up. Alumni Gala, 6 p.m., RSVP confirmed. I never responded. Guess Mom did it for me. She liked having her daughters show up, one for the spotlight, one to fill the chairs. I closed the reminder and stared at the ceiling. I could skip it, no one would notice. But something in me, it wasn't pride, maybe principle, told me to show up anyway. If they were going to erase me, they'd at least have to see me while they did it. Before I got ready, I made the mistake of opening Facebook. First thing on my feed. 1 year ago today. A picture from Las Vegas. There they were, Mom, Dad, Ainsley, and her husband Truett, posing in front of the Vegas sign, champagne flutes raised, big white smiles. Caption read, "Much-needed family getaway. Grateful for moments like these." Then I saw Mom's comment under the photo. The family that stays together, thrives together. I checked the date. Same weekend I had worked back-to-back shifts to cover their emergency property tax. I remember the emails Dad sent. "We're a little short this month, sweetheart." And the call from Mom. "Just this once. You'll get it back." They didn't forget to invite me. They chose not to. I sat back and stared at the screen. This is the part where you'd expect rage, but what I felt was dull, quiet, a kind of truth that drains something out of you. When people are absent long enough, you start inventing reasons for them, so it doesn't hurt as much. That weekend, I'd also gone to urgent care. Cough wouldn't stop. Didn't tell anyone, didn't expect anyone to care. Conditioning runs deep when love is measured in how convenient you are. I saved the Vegas photo to a new folder on my desktop. Titled it, Family Receipts. It was going to be a long file. Later that afternoon, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the straps on my black cocktail dress. It was rented, still had the barcode inside the seam, minimal makeup, hair tied back, simple earrings. I didn't want to stand out, I just wanted to occupy my space. The alumni gala was at a downtown ballroom. Big chandeliers, corporate buzz, a room full of people who smiled a lot but didn't look you in the eyes. I walked in alone. No one waiting for me. I made my way to the check-in table, gave my name, and was handed a white name tag with printed letters. Support staff, finance. No last name, no title, just support. I stood there for a moment, then pinned it on. Across the room, a giant banner hung near the stage. Keynote speaker, Ainsley Grable. My sister. Of course. A woman I vaguely remembered from school walked by and said, "Oh, are you helping organize this? You look so official." I didn't correct her. I just said, "I guess I am." There was something clarifying in that moment, like when you stop expecting the sky to be blue and just accept it's going to rain. I found a quiet corner, grabbed a drink, and watched Ainsley give her speech. She thanked her mentors, her husband, her children, her team. Then, most importantly, to my family, thank you for your unconditional support. She never even looked my way. And for the first time, I didn't feel sad. I walked over to the drink bar, took off my name tag, and placed it face down on the marble. Like a resignation letter no one would ever read. I left before the closing toast. No one stopped me. Outside, the air was cooler than I expected. I walked slowly to my car, still holding the clutch bag I hadn't opened all night. Halfway home, I pulled over into a gas station lot. Sat in the car, opened the banking app again, tapped into the settings for recurring payments. Cancel transfers to Merrick Dunst and Velma Carrington? I held my thumb over the button, but I didn't press it. Not yet. I wasn't done collecting everything first. Work had become my quiet place, the only space where I wasn't someone's shadow or someone's utility. I was just Lakin, Keyboard strokes, data models, results. No judgment, no comparison, just numbers that added up. I was checking a report that morning when my phone lit up. It was a number I hadn't saved, but I recognized the area code. When I answered, a familiar voice greeted me. Mrs. Hendricks, our old neighbor from 2 houses down. I just wanted to say I was sorry about Mr. Price, she said. The memorial's this afternoon, at Trinity on Main. Mr. Price had been part of my childhood. He gave out the best Halloween candy, always remembered my birthday, once gave me a math book just because he noticed I liked puzzles. I cleared my throat. Yes, I know, I'll be there. Except I didn't know, not until now. She said, I figured your family would have told you. They've been planning it for weeks. I smiled, lied, thanked her, and hung up. Then I checked my inbox. Searched Price Memorial, found the forwarded chain, every name listed. Mom, Dad, Ainsley, even Truett, but not me, not even in CC. I stared at it longer than I should have, not because I was surprised, but because the absence had stopped hurting. It had become expected, routine. That's when it hit me. Not only was I out of the loop, I was officially out of the family. Later that day, I showed up at the memorial in a plain black dress. I kept my distance from the front rows, paid my respects quietly. After the service, I stepped into the reception area and spotted Mom in a cream sweater, laughing with a group of old friends. She caught my eye and waved me over. This is Ainsley's friend from Austin, she told them. She works in tech. A beat passed. Then the other woman lit up. Oh, you're the one who helped with the campaign last year. Ainsley said your spreadsheets were lifesavers. I didn't correct her. I didn't say, actually, I'm her daughter. I didn't say anything. I just smiled, nodded, and walked away. Out the side doors, down the church steps, into the parking lot. That's when the words formed in my head, words I hadn't said out loud in years. When someone's absence hurts long enough, you start making excuses for them, so you don't hate them. I sat on the steps a while, remembered birthdays where my name wasn't on the cake, college graduation, where they framed Ainsley's photo, but not mine. The wedding I paid for that I wasn't mentioned in. I wasn't forgotten. I'd been replaced. At home that evening, I opened my laptop, pulled up emails, group texts, threads. Every time I had offered help, every time I was excluded, every bill I paid without a thank you, every memory that had been repackaged to exclude me. The pattern was clear. All the emails went to them, not me. Every invite, every plan, every photo album, every committee. I wasn't part of the family. And I was a background process. So I created a folder, named it The Erasure Files. Inside, I started saving PDFs, screenshots, forwarded messages, every digital fingerprint of the truth. They didn't lose me. They edited me out. That night, I sat on the couch with my phone in hand. I typed out a message to Mom. Was I supposed to be at the memorial? I deleted it. Typed another. Why do you keep forgetting I exist? Deleted that too. Then I opened a new document. Title: Statement of Accounts. No more asking, no more waiting to be seen. I wouldn't beg to be remembered. I was preparing to make sure they couldn't forget. Sunday mornings used to be slow. Coffee, laundry, maybe some emails if I had the energy. But this one hit different. I woke up early with a pressure in my chest that wasn't hunger or caffeine withdrawal. It was something else. A pulse of clarity that kept dragging me toward the truth I hadn't wanted to face. I'd been sorting my tax records, trying to get ahead for once. Spreadsheets, receipts, statements all over my dining table. Somewhere in the middle of that mess, I found the scanned deed from 2 years ago. My name, printed right next to Merrick's. I remembered the day I signed it. He looked me in the eye and said, "This is your future too." That same memory made my stomach turn now. I opened the county records site. Searched the property. It loaded slow, like it knew what was coming. And then I saw it. My name was gone, revised, 6 months ago. No notice. No phone call. No, we'll talk it over. Just gone. It felt like someone had wiped my signature clean off the family tree. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched, throat dry. They took me off the title like I was an employee who'd been quietly fired. I didn't cry. I printed it instead. By late morning, I had a manila folder with the deed, proof of the revision, and a fresh printout of every transfer I'd made to them in the last 24 months. Gas money, mortgage payments, grocery orders, Christmas, every dollar accounted for. Then I called Mom. Her voice was cheerful. "We're doing brunch. Ainsley's here. You should swing by." I kept it light. "I'll bring muffins." "Perfect," she said, like we were any other family on any other Sunday. On the drive over, I passed the house, the one I saved, the same one I no longer had legal claim to. I looked at the fresh paint on the porch rails, the new security camera above the door. Every upgrade was stamped with a payment from me. They called it family. I was just here to collect documentation. By the time I walked into the kitchen, the smell of bacon and citrus filled the air. Ainsley was showing off a new promotion, VP of something vague and important. Dad was reading the paper, nodding at headlines like they mattered more than people. I sat, stayed quiet, waited. Mom pointed toward the living room. "I loaned Dad's massage chair to Delphina next door. He never uses it, and she's been having back problems." I froze mid-sip. That chair, I bought it for his birthday. $1,100, custom settings, delivered and assembled the day before. "Did you tell her it was from me?" Mom didn't even blink. "That's not important, sweetie. It's just a chair." It wasn't about the chair. It was about erasure. Again. I reached into my bag, pulled the folder out, and laid it flat on the table next to the fruit bowl. Dad looked up, brows knitting slightly. "What's this?" I turned the first page. "You signed me off the house," I said evenly, 6 months ago, without telling me. He glanced at the paper, then back at his coffee. Mom's smile didn't fade, but her eyes shifted. "Well, it just made things easier on the paperwork side. You were always so busy." Ainsley's voice cut in. "Wait, she was on the deed?" Silence. The kind that feels like everyone's waiting for someone else to breathe first. I stood. "That's fine. I'm simplifying things too. This is the last brunch I'll ever attend here. No yelling, no scene, just fact." I walked toward the door, passing the hallway wall lined with family photos. 12 frames. I was in 2. One was a group shot from 10 years ago, cropped so I barely made the edge. "Love without acknowledgement isn't love," I whispered. "It's labor." Outside, the sun felt too bright. I opened my phone, stared again at the bank draft screen, still hadn't canceled the transfers, not yet. Instead, I opened a new tab, renamed a folder. Documenting financial contributions, Brixley family. Not for revenge, for the record. It was a Tuesday evening when my phone buzzed. I was finishing up a simple dinner, washing the last of the dishes. The screen lit up with a video call from Junie Ray, my niece. I dried my hands, answered with a half smile. "Hi, Aunt Lakin," she chirped, bouncing into view, her new bracelet flashing under the kitchen light. "Thank you so much for the graduation gift." I felt something soften inside me. At least she remembered. "I'm glad you liked it," I said. "Did you get the note I sent with it?" She tilted her head. "Note?" There was a beat of silence. Then she added, "Grandma said it was from her. She said you just helped order it online 'cause you're good at money stuff." In the background, I saw Velma moving through the hallway, not making eye contact, pretending not to hear. I kept my smile up for Junie. "Well, I'm just happy you're happy." She blew a kiss and logged off, and the call ended. The silence that followed felt heavy, not quiet. Like the kind that settles after someone slams a door. I didn't cry. That phase passed a long time ago. What I felt now was emptied out. Something quietly torn loose, and no one noticed the sound. Later that night, I sat down on the couch with a blanket and let myself remember the birthday party, Junie's 7th. I hadn't been able to make the drive that year, so I ordered a custom cake shaped like a chemistry set, with beakers and edible flames. I sent 3 science kits wrapped in bright yellow ribbon. At the party, Ainsley had stood up in front of everyone and said, "This is from all of us," and no one corrected her. The next day, Velma posted a family photo. So grateful for everyone who made this day special, the caption read. Everyone tagged, but me. You start to feel like a shadow with a bank account. It wasn't about the credit. I didn't want applause, but I wanted not to be erased. That's the part no one ever understood. Later that night, after the bracelet call, I texted Junie. What was your favorite part of your graduation day? She sent back a voice message. Grandma said you're like a magic fairy. You help pay for everything but don't need to be seen. It wasn't mean. She didn't say it with any cruelty. It was innocent. It was honest. And that's what made it burn. They've trained her to see me the same way they do, useful, but not necessary. I put the phone down and stared at the ceiling. Another generation brought into the pattern. It wasn't about the money. It was about the silence I kept paying to keep. I stood up, walked out to the balcony with a mug of peppermint tea. The night was still. Just the hum of air conditioners and distant dogs barking. I opened my email and started writing. Subject line, let's not fight anymore. Mom, I think it's best if I take a step back for a while. I don't want things to escalate between us. I hope you understand. Then I deleted it. I typed something shorter. I forgive you. Deleted that too. I stared out into the dark and wondered, maybe this was the real peace, letting it all slide, stopping the fight, no longer needing to be seen or known or credited. But then I glanced through the glass door. My laptop screen was still on, the folder glowing in the corner of the desktop. Erasure files. No, peace is not the same as silence. I closed the door behind me, walked back to the table, opened my spreadsheet. Title, Legacy Ledger. I started inputting line items, each with the date, the amount, the reason, not for revenge, for record, for truth. I scrolled down and added a new row. Junie's graduation bracelet, $124.32, credited to someone else. And in the notes column, sometimes children tell the truth adults are too cowardly to say. Sunday afternoon. The air was heavy with the smell of grilled meat and cologne that always seemed too strong for outdoors. I hadn't planned to go. I told myself I'd stay home, finish reconciling my expenses, maybe rewatch something brainless. But I showed up. I think I needed to see their faces, needed to feel the space between us for real. I didn't bring wine or a smile, just a Tupperware dish, rosemary chicken with roasted garlic. Something I learned to make from watching Mom when I was 10, before she decided I was the practical one and handed all the cooking attention to Ainsley. When I walked into the backyard, Ainsley was already there, in a sundress she probably bought just for today, laughing loud enough to be heard from the street. She handed off a tray of frozen spinach puffs to someone and immediately got praised for her thoughtfulness. Velma barely looked up. "Oh, good, Lakin," she said. "Just set that down on the end there." She pointed to the fold-out card table by the bushes. The real buffet, the one everyone was taking pictures of, sat on the patio, beneath string lights and a banner that read, "Family First." I didn't argue. I just placed the dish where she said and stepped back. The afternoon wore on like theater. Aunts, uncles, and cousins clapped when Ainsley explained the convenience of store-bought options. One cousin asked if the chicken was from a catering place, then complimented Ainsley again. I said nothing. Velma tried my dish and gave a little nod. "It's earthy. Not everyone likes strong flavors." I nodded, took a sip of water, recorded the moment in my head. They didn't even pretend anymore. During dessert, someone's fiancé stood up and proposed. There were cheers, phones raised for video, and that staged kind of gasping people do when they want to be part of something they'll later tell others about. That's when my phone buzzed. I thought it might be work or a friend, but no, it was a Venmo request from Velma. $600, Dad's medical checkup. Please ASAP. No greeting, no explanation, just an invoice sent during a toast. I looked across the yard. Velma was smiling at the happy couple like nothing had happened. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my banking app and took screenshots of every transfer I'd sent over the last 6 months, labeled each one, labeled them for myself. Later, while the sun started to dip, I found Velma near the porch, arranging lemonade cups with lemon slices like a Hallmark movie backdrop. "Mom," I said calmly, "I saw your request." She didn't look surprised. "Oh, just routine. You've always been so helpful." "That wasn't a request," I said. "That was a test." Her hand paused mid-reach. She blinked, smiled thinly. "I thought we understood each other." "We do," I said. "You expect me to give and stay quiet. That's the arrangement." "That's what you're afraid I'll break." She looked at me the way people look at something they didn't expect to talk back. I left before the next round of cupcakes hit the table. At the exit, I grabbed a napkin from the drink cart, borrowed a pen, and scribbled a note. Folded it twice and slid it under her lemonade glass. "This is the last time I'll show up out of obligation. Next time, I'll show up with evidence." I walked past the cars, past the photo booth props, past the fake laughs echoing around plastic chairs. No one followed. No one noticed. But that silence wasn't weakness. That silence was me, finally picking the volume. It was midweek when the message came through from Ainsley. "You should come to the gala Thursday. Support the family brand, you know?" She didn't ask. She suggested, like it would reflect poorly on me if I didn't show up. Like my absence would be the embarrassment, not the years of being left off the very materials they were celebrating. I showed up anyway. Neutral-toned dress, hair pulled back, light makeup. Not to stand out, just to witness. The country club lobby buzzed with donors and polished name tags. I walked past the welcome table, my name not on any list, but I knew how to slip into spaces quietly. That was my talent. Being invisible without disappearing. Then I saw it. A banner 6 feet tall stretched across the wall near the ballroom doors. Grable Family Foundation, built on family, powered by vision. Underneath, a photo. Ainsley, smiling wide, next to me, my image, cropped close, mid-laugh, used without permission, and not a single credit. I stared at it for a long beat, not because I was shocked, but because I wasn't. Inside the room, music played. Waitstaff passed hors d'oeuvres, guests buzzed about legacy and impact. I took a slow lap around the perimeter, my heels muffled by thick carpet. Near the kitchen door, I paused to text a friend when a man in a blazer approached me, holding an empty glass. "Excuse me," he said, not looking directly at me. "Could you bring out more glasses? We're low at table 6. I blinked, then nodded. He walked away before I could say anything. Or maybe I didn't want to. I didn't correct him. That wasn't offense. That was confirmation. They didn't just erase me from the story. They replaced me with someone who still did the work, just without the title. I walked toward the back corner of the room where a small podium stood beside the silent auction table. Ainsley was standing there, laughing with a group of donors. Velma hovered behind her, basking in the second-hand attention. I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the banner, sent it to a lawyer friend with the note, "Never signed a media release." As I turned to leave, Ainsley caught me. "Oh, you saw the display?" she said, bright and oblivious. "You looked great in that photo." I looked her straight in the eye. "It's the only time you've ever published my image, and of course, not my name." She opened her mouth, but I was already walking away. I passed the check-in desk and pulled an envelope from my bag, slid it to the woman behind the table. For the keynote speaker. Inside that envelope was a copy of the Grable Foundation's actual financial trail, payments made from my accounts, dates lined up with the foundation's launches, matched with every event they claimed as self-funded. I added a sticky note, in case you want to know who's really powering this vision. Then I left. No goodbye. No dessert. In the car, I rolled down the windows and let the wind hit my face, calm but electric. I opened the legacy ledger on my phone, scrolled to the bottom, added a new entry. Unauthorized use of photo, gala sponsorship display. And then one more line. Foundation launch, $3,800, reimbursed from my account over 3 months. I zipped the file and backed it up to my cloud drive. New folder, release if slandered. They weaponized image. I weaponized truth. The sky was clear that evening, the kind of sunset that felt designed for wedding photos. I parked farther than necessary, just to walk a little. I wasn't in a rush. The truth doesn't hurry. The venue was beautiful. It should have been. It cost over $4,000. I knew that because I paid for it. Not directly, of course. That would have required acknowledgement. But I'd seen the bank line item. Venue payment, Amanda and partner. I'm neither Amanda, nor did I bring a partner. My name wasn't in the program. Not under family, not in the thank you list, just omitted, clean and efficient. I took my seat in the back row and watched the string quartet tune up. The aisle was lined with white rose petals. I scanned the caterers, the floral centerpieces, the custom signage, the monogrammed menus. I'd helped fund every detail, quietly, consistently. Dad was near the bar, laughing too loud with a man in a suit. Velma was already giving orders to the servers, hand gestures sharp and rehearsed. She thrived in logistics. She'd turned my reliability into her brand. Dinner was served inside the main hall. I ate slowly, barely tasting anything. Then Sierra stood and tapped her glass. I just want to say how grateful I am to everyone who helped make this day happen, especially my parents. None of this would have been possible without them. Applause. I raised my glass but didn't sip. Then the slideshow began. Childhood memories, prom pictures, graduation caps, engagement shoot, and family photos. Dozens of them. I wasn't in a single one. It wasn't that they forgot me. They learned how to celebrate while erasing me. The first dance came and went. Then the music shifted, the floor opened, and the room became a blur of laughter and clinking glasses. I stood from my chair, walked calmly to the DJ booth, and leaned in. Would you mind if I say a few words? He looked at me, hesitated, then nodded. I took the mic. My voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Before we celebrate any further, I'd like to give a gift. I walked to the gift table, lifted the binder from my bag, and placed it square in the center. It was thick, leather-bound, labeled simply, Brixley Family Financials. In this binder are 2 years of payments, every mortgage installment, every tax penalty covered, every tuition check and repair bill paid from my account. A few people stopped dancing. Conversations dipped. I opened it to the flagged page. Venue payment, $4,200, March 17th, Amanda and partner. Sierra froze. Mom's smile stiffened. Dad stepped back, face unreadable. A murmur rippled through the crowd. This isn't about money, I said. It's about narrative. For years, I've paid for a seat at a table where my name was never printed. Someone nearby lifted their phone, started recording. Velma moved fast. That's enough, Lakin. Let's get back to the music. Dad muttered, This isn't the time. I looked at both of them. It never was. That's why I made one. Sierra's voice cracked. I didn't know. I nodded slowly. That's the problem. No one ever does. Because I was never allowed to exist out loud. Whispers filled the space. Aunts, uncles, distant cousins, all reevaluating what they'd just witnessed. I didn't wait for questions. I walked toward the exit, calm, past the dessert bar, past the table where Velma was now gripping a wine glass a little too tightly. I dropped a second envelope on their table, labeled, Inheritance Revision, Legal Copy Enclosed. Inside was the document showing I'd been removed from the family trust 6 months ago. Quietly, strategically. As I reached the doors, I paused just long enough to say, Congratulations. You've married off one daughter and disowned the other, publicly. I stepped outside. The music faded behind me. The stars overhead were sharp. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't angry. I was free. 2 weeks passed. No calls, no emails, not a single knock on my door. I noticed something odd, not silence, but absence. They weren't reaching out, but neither were the people who used to tag me in every family photo, every baby announcement, every recipe chain email. I wasn't being ignored. I was being erased, fully, efficiently, and without confrontation. But strangely, it didn't sting. I didn't feel abandoned. I felt clean. One morning, I opened the legacy ledger on my laptop for what I knew would be the last time, flipped through each entry, mortgage payments, tuition transfers, wedding deposits. I bookmarked the final page, closed the file, and whispered to myself, sometimes, Closure is choosing not to reopen the door that kept slamming on you. That afternoon, my phone rang. Sierra. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was low, like someone trying to speak from behind a locked door. I didn't know everything, I swear. But I know enough now. There was a long pause between us. She went on. They told me you were unstable, that you couldn't be trusted with family money. I believed it because it was easier. Her voice cracked. I want to pay you back, she said. Whatever I can. Just tell me what's fair. No, I said softly. Keep it. She was quiet. But, I added, don't let them teach your kids to treat anyone like they treated me. That landed. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. But I heard something change in her tone when she said, I won't. I promise. It wasn't a fix, but it was a seed. That was enough. 2 days later, a letter arrived. Velma's handwriting. Neat, deliberate. Inside, no apology. Just her version of truth. I thought I was doing what was best for everyone. I read it twice, then folded it neatly and slipped it into the back pocket of the binder. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. Velma opened the door. Her face was a familiar mask, tight, calm, unreadable. We sat at the kitchen table, no shouting, no tears. You didn't have to make it public, she said quietly. You didn't have to make me invisible, I replied. We said little else. No forgiveness, no blame, just clarity. That evening, back in my apartment, I backed up the binder to my cloud archive. Password protected, labeled, stored. I sent a copy to my lawyer with a note. Only release if I request it. Then I sold the last stock I co-owned with the family trust. I moved into a smaller apartment on the east side of the city. Clean walls, new keys, no ghosts. On my desk sat one framed object, the embroidered handkerchief I gave Velma years ago, the one she never thanked me for. Under the glass, I added a label. Not forgotten, just done. The next morning, I took a walk through Zilker Park. The breeze was cool, the grass damp with dew. Kids ran by chasing each other while their parents trailed behind. A man stood near the bike path, helping his daughter balance on 2 wheels. Keep your eyes forward, he said. Don't look back, just trust yourself. I smiled and kept walking. At a bench near the fountain, I opened a small notebook and wrote the first line of a blog I'd been thinking about. I was never the loudest in the room, but I remember everything. And now I get to decide what gets remembered. They told me family is everything. But sometimes, survival means becoming your own family.